They're thumbing their nose at our courts, at our legal system.
It's a custom set in stone. Anyone who's been to a court knows they must stand when a judge or magistrate enters and leaves a courtroom.
I believe that's an important tradition in our courts and one which assists all the community to understand the respect that should be afforded to the office of a judicial officer.
However, standing for a judge is a show of respect that doesn't wash with a growing number of people, mainly Islamists. In one of the most recent cases just last week, 5 alleged terrorists refused to rise for a Melbourne magistrate. Even a group of their supporters snubbed her, their lawyer explaining they were simply adhering to their faith.
If a judge requests that someone rises before him in court, the person needs to rise regardless of whatever religion they're from. And if the judge says sit down, they need to sit down.
Then there was Muhammad Isai Isaka. The father of 8 had been charged with rioting in a violent protest in Sydney's CBD. And when it came time for him to face court, he refused to accept responsibility and refused to stand for his female magistrate.
Do you think you're being disrespectful?
I've got no comment at this stage.
Isaka claimed he couldn't stand because his religious beliefs wouldn't allow it. The magistrate Jacqueline Millage stopped short of charging him with contempt, but told his lawyer she's never been treated with such disrespect.
You can tell me where it is in his religion that it says he cannot stand.
Under Islamic law, there's no reason why someone shouldn't stand up before a judge.
Now, I don't know how that works in the real world, so that may be fine wherever they're from, but here in Australia, what we do is we stand up when judges or magistrates enter the court, and that's what they'll be required to do.
In the end, everyone agreed Isaka could stand outside when it was time for the courtroom to rise.
I respect that Mr Osaka has beliefs and that he stuck by his beliefs.
That's nonsense. If the judge says rise, you have to rise, whether it be in an Islamic government or a non-Islamic government.
And then there's the habitual offender, 25-year-old Malid bin Ahmad Sa al-Madzai, who's not only refused to stand, but in one hearing turned his back on proceedings and started to pray.
That's not how our country operates. We show respect for our courts, we show respect for our judges and magistrates, which represent the force of law in our country. And if people just simply refuse to adhere to that, then there need to be consequences.
Family First Leader Dennis Hood wants this behaviour to stop. He's planning to introduce the bill in Parliament next week, saying regardless of race or religion in the Australian Court of Law, we should all be reading from the same rulebook.
For a first offence, a fine of up to $1,100 and or 14 days imprisonment.
And there's no argument from the Adelaide-based Australian Shia Muslim leader Imam Tawhidi. He not only supports the proposal but describes any Muslim who doesn't stand up as an extremist.
The people that refuse to stand before the judge usually, or in most cases, believe that the government of Australia or the government of anything other than an Islamic government is not a government that one should abide by because they're not the laws of God, and I am against this.
A similar law's already been introduced in New South Wales, but the Law Society here thinks there's no real need. Rachel Shaw.
There are provisions in each of our courts' jurisdiction to deal with people who misbehave or don't follow orders, to be dealt with as a contempt.
But Dennis Hood's pressing ahead with his bill and hopes Parliament will be on the same page.
If people believe that this is the right thing, I'd ask them to contact their MP and voice their support for this legislation to put the pressure on MPs to get it through.